They never woke you up. They baited you with fruit, no less. That is the part the awake crowd never wants to say out loud because it ruins the little costume party. The red pill was never automatically freedom. Sometimes it was just forbidden fruit with better branding, a shiny little sacrament for people desperate to believe that seeing the darkness means they escaped the spell. But what if the spell needed you to see? What if the beast did not fear your curiosity? What if it counted on it? What if the rabbit hole was never an exit, but an initiation shaft, because the serpent did not drag Eve by the hair? He offered, he suggested, he opened a door, he gave knowledge a glow. He did not sell ignorance. He sold knowledge with a price tag attached to the soul. That is the oldest trick in the book. Not forced blindness, voluntary initiation, not stay asleep, but eat this, and you will see. Cute, very ancient, very effective. And here we are, thousands of years later, watching people swallow every glowing pill the algorithm hands them and call the overdose awakening. They see a symbol. They see a ritual. They see a scandal. They see blackmail, corruption, trafficking, poisoned food, captured churches, fake wars, scripted politics, technocratic control, and the entire rotten theater wearing fresh makeup for a new set of clowns. And instead of asking, why was I shown this? In this order, at this moment, by these people, leading me toward this conclusion, they say, I'm awake now. No, I mean, maybe you are. Or maybe you just got moved from one dream into another. Mainstream sleep was the kindergarten program. Everything is fine. Trust the institutions. Take the pill. Vote harder. Watch the news. Respect the experts. Then came the counter dream. Everything is evil. But don't worry. A savior is coming. A storm is coming. A plan is working. A billionaire is fighting for you. A politician is secretly pure. A prophet has decoded it. A whistleblower has it. A hidden army is in control. Different dream, but same kneeling. One numbs you with comfort. The other numbs you with meaning. And meaning is a stronger drug, because a comfortable slave might one day get bored. But a slave who believes his chains are prophecy, that one will polish the lock himself. This is where lies come to die, and some of those lies are yours. Most people do not want the dream to end. They want a better dream, a cleaner dream, a dream with the right villains, the right symbols, the right heroes, the right prophecies, the right enemies, the right emotional soundtrack. They want corruption exposed, but not their own dependency. They want villains named, but not the stage examined. They want masks ripped off, but not the theater burned down. They want to be told they are awake while reacting to the same triggers, waiting for the same rescue, obeying the same rhythm, and calling the same dependency discernment. Awakening or software update. Same cage, braver wallpaper. Now the wallpaper has flags, crosses, children, freedom, disclosure, justice, revenge, end times, the final battle, the great reveal, the sacred war against whoever the script told you to hate this week. The old system needed sleepers. The new system needs fake awake reactors. A sleeping slave is useful. A fake awake slave is profitable. He does not just obey, he clicks, he shares, he argues, he recruits, he spreads the payload, he evangelizes, he mistakes outrage for consciousness, he mistakes emotional whiplash for spiritual warfare, he mistakes the feed for the battlefield, he mistakes doom scrolling for research, he mistakes being triggered for being awake, and the temple does not even need to recruit him anymore. He recruits for it, for free. This is the upgrade. The beast does not need you asleep anymore. Sleep was the old model. Now it needs you awake enough to react, but not awake enough to stop reacting. awake enough to generate data, not grounded enough to withhold it, angry enough to move, not clear enough to choose direction, horrified enough to demand solutions, not disciplined enough to inspect the builders. That is the new dream. A dream of endless stimulation, a dream of managed awakening, a dream where every scandal is a bell and every bell makes the cattle move, a dream where every atrocity becomes a lever, a dream where every moral instinct becomes a data point, a dream where the machine learns the shape of your soul by watching what makes it flinch. And you call it awareness. No, that's captivity with notifications. The altar now fits in your hand. The cage learned to vibrate. Now let's talk about the trap, not ignorance. That is the child's version. This is worse. The knowledge trap. Because the strongest deception is not always the lie they tell you. It is the lie they make you dig up, polish, defend, and call your own. A symbol here, a number there, a quote, a document, a photograph, a strange connection, a ritual date, a leak that feels forbidden, a pattern that makes your heart drop, and then they let you find it. That is the genius. Breadcrumbs that lead straight in the oven. Because once you find it yourself, it no longer feels like persuasion. It feels like revelation. You dug it up. You connected the dots. You felt the click in your own mind. You got the dopamine hit of discovery. Now the narrative feels like yours, not theirs. That is why planted truths are so dangerous. They do not feel like programming. They feel like proof. They do not feel like bait. They feel like reward. They do not feel like a leash. They feel like a key. But a key can lock a cage too. A planted treasure still feels like treasure to the man holding the shovel. Fool's gold still shines when the miner is desperate enough. This is how false realities are birthed. Not by forcing everyone to believe the same story, by scattering enough fragments that different people can build the same cage and think they designed it independently. They do not need to give you the whole lie. They only need to bury the right pieces. Then your ego does the masonry. Your pattern recognition becomes the mortar. Your pride becomes the seal. Your research becomes the ritual. And once pride enters through the same door as revelation, discernment takes the back seat. That is why the red pill can become poison. Not because truth is bad. Do not be stupid. Truth matters. Receipts matter. Discernment matters. A man who refuses to look at evil because looking hurts is not awake. He is upholstered, a couch with opinions. But truth is not automatically liberation. A fact is not automatically wisdom. A revelation is not automatically awakening. The right truth in the wrong order can break a mind. The right truth without grounding can become poison. The right truth delivered by the wrong actor for the wrong purpose at the wrong moment can become a leash, because truths are colors. Narratives are paintings. One man can take red, blue, and gold and paint a sunrise. Another can take the same red, blue, and gold and paint a massacre. The colors did not lie. The painter did. That is how truth gets weaponized. Not always by inventing false pieces, sometimes by arranging real ones into a picture designed to make you kneel. The corruption can be real. The children can be real. The blackmail can be real. The ritual can be real. The surveillance can be real. The system can be evil, and the painting can still be a trap. Because the question is not only, is this true? The question is, what is this truth doing? Where is it taking me? What emotion is it triggering? What conclusion is it making inevitable? Who is being cast as villain? Who is being sold as savior? What solution is being prepared behind it? What am I being trained to accept? What am I being trained to hate? What am I being trained to build? Most people never ask. They stare at the canvas until they feel something. Then they call that feeling truth. Now, we get to the machinery. Because hopium does not work alone. Hope is not the whole drug. Hope is the relief, the hook, the hand reaching down, the glowing door at the end of the nightmare. But before hope becomes addictive, something has to break you enough to need it. That something is trauma. Not always blood on the walls, not always the Hollywood version. Sometimes trauma is repetition. Sometimes trauma is exposure. Sometimes trauma is truth delivered without context, without grounding, and without escape. Sometimes trauma is watching the world burn in high definition while being told your only job is to react, share, donate, vote, wait, trust, decode, and refresh. Sometimes trauma is the slow collapse of your ability to feel normal, to eat dinner without checking the feed, to laugh without guilt, to sleep without the hum of apocalypse under your pillow, to look at your children without wondering what kind of machine is being built around them. That is trauma too. A quieter trauma, a civilized trauma, a trauma with Wi-Fi. And once you see the rhythm, you see it everywhere. Hope, demoralize, accelerate with trauma, repeat. That is the loop. That is the sorcery. First, horror. Look what they did. Look what they hid. Look what is happening to children. Look what is in your food. Look what is in your blood. Look what is above your head. Look who lied. Look who knew. Look who laughed. Then, hope. But don't worry. Someone is working behind the scenes. The files are coming. The arrests are coming. The storm is coming. The military is ready. The prophet saw it. The billionaire is building it. The outsider is exposing it. The light has already won. Then, delay. Nothing happens, or worse, the savior betrays you in public. The promised rescue becomes another cage. The enemy gets stronger. The children are still harmed. The wars continue. The poison spreads. The surveillance expands. The priests smile. The billionaires merge with the state. The rebels sign the contracts. Then, explanation. You misunderstood. This is necessary. It is all optics. It is a movie. Enjoy the show. It had to be this way. The plan is deeper than you know. Then, despair. Maybe nothing matters. Maybe evil always wins. Maybe everyone is compromised. Maybe truth is useless. Then, new trauma, new horror, new revelation, new panic, new door, and off they run again. Hope, demoralize, accelerate with trauma, repeat. This is not awakening, but conditioning. You are being trained to run toward doors they control. You are being trained to mistake the appearance of escape for escape itself. You are being trained to treat delayed salvation as proof of higher strategy. You are being trained to endure betrayal as initiation. That is why hopium addicts become vicious when the bottle breaks. You are not only criticizing their theory, you are threatening their trauma bond. And right when the nervous system is broken enough, the savior appears. The synthetic messiah, not a person first. A role, a costume, a function, a mask the beast keeps handing to whatever actor walks on stage after the trauma has done its work. The world burns. The crowd panics. The old temple rots. The priests are exposed. The children are harmed. The documents leak. The blackmail surfaces. The institutions collapse. The people finally see enough evil to hate the system that raised them. Then the lights dim. The music changes. A figure walks through the smoke, and the crowd whispers, maybe him, maybe this one. Maybe this is why we had to suffer. Maybe this is the man who burns Babylon. No, that is the trap. The Savior does not need to save you. He only needs to organize your despair. He gives your helplessness a face to trust. He gives your rage a flag. He gives your waiting a theology. He gives your cowardice a costume. He gives your hope a handler. And once hope has a handler, your chains do not need locks. This is why no heroes matters. Not because no one ever does good. People do good. People tell truth. People sacrifice. People protect children. People resist evil. But the moment you turn a person into a halo, you stop inspecting the shadow. And every halo becomes a blindfold if you worship it long enough. No halos, no heroes. No synthetic messiahs wearing your hope like a crown. Now comes the part where the red pill becomes a leash, because the truth may be true. The corruption may be real. The predators may be real. The blackmail may be real. The surveillance may be real. The spiritual rot may be real. The system may be evil. Yes. And that is where discernment begins. Not at the truth. At the therefore. There is the hook and the chain. The truth was the hook. The therefore was the chain. Therefore, we need digital identity. Therefore, we need biometric trust. Therefore, we need AI moderation. Therefore, we need financial transparency. Therefore, we need predictive policing. Therefore, we need speech control. Therefore, we need border surveillance. Therefore, we need emergency powers. Therefore, we need verification. Therefore, we need global coordination. Therefore, sign here if you are one of the good guys. And because people are horrified enough, they sign. Not because they think they are slaves, because they think they are soldiers, leading God's army no less. That is how the beast wins. Not by dragging you into chains, by making you kiss the chain because it came wrapped in liberation. The beast will not ask you to submit to tyranny. That would be too obvious. It will ask you to rebel against tyranny in the exact direction that builds its throne. That is the trick. That is the priestcraft. That is the game. They show you predators, then sell you surveillance. They show you corruption, then sell you transparency. They show you lies, then sell you speech control. They show you chaos, then sell you order. They show you children harmed, then sell you the cage as child protection. Real wound, poisoned remedy, pharmacon, poison and cure in the same cup. And the fake awake crowd drinks first because they think they found the antidote. The sleeper says, protect me. The fake awake man says, arm me for the holy war. Different entrance, same altar. The mark will not feel like shame. It will feel like clearance. It will not feel like slavery. It will feel like proof that you were on the right side of history. A trust signal, a badge of solidarity, a revolutionary seal, a symbol that says, I am not with the predators. I am not with the parasites. I am not with the old regime. I am not with Babylon. I am good. I am verified. I am free. And that is exactly why it will be lethal. Because the most dangerous chains are the ones people wear proudly. The system that captures you may not be the one you feared. It may be the one you build as a means of escape. Not the gray prison, the bright one. Not the soulless machine, the living one. Not the boot on your face forever. The hand on your shoulder saying, we did it. We saved humanity. Now become more. That is the biodigital upgrade. A matrix that does not feel like going to sleep. It feels like waking up in paradise. A cleaner world. A trusted world. A connected world. A healed world. A world without predators. A world without lies. A world without corruption. A world without uncertainty. And then comes the invoice. Privacy, memory, flesh, weakness, sex, birth, death, mystery, silence, soul. What is the fair sacrifice? What is the rational offering? What piece of man goes onto the altar so the machine can call him evolved? That is the question the priests will hate, because the priesthood needs the sacrifice to feel rational. Every altar does. The old gods asked for blood and called it harvest. The new gods ask for data and call it personalization. The old gods asked for children and called it blessing. The new gods ask for children's minds and call it education. The old gods asked for obedience and called it faith. The new gods ask for compliance and call it trust. Same altar, new priesthood, different incense, same appetite. This is why the solution must be inspected harder than the problem, and the rebellion must be inspected harder than the tyrant. The problem may be real. The solution is where the trap hides. The tyrant may be real. The rebellion is where the delivery system hides. The question is not only what is happening. The question is, what is this making me willing to accept? What power now feels reasonable? What tool now feels necessary? What freedom now feels outdated? What surveillance now feels compassionate? What censorship now feels responsible? What machine now feels like mercy? What revolt now feels like obedience with a flag? That is the question, but people never ask it. They see horror and demand response. They see children and demand safety. They see corruption and demand transparency. They see lies and demand control of speech. They see old evil and demand new authority. They see tyranny and demand a rebellion already owned by the architects. They call this morality. Sometimes it is only reflex, and reflex is easy to farm. The beast does not need you to love tyranny. It only needs you to hate evil enough to accept it. So what is the exit? Not ignorance, not denial, not stop researching, not go back to sleep. Only cowards stop looking. The exit is disciplined knowledge, knowledge that does not own your nervous system, truth that does not become a leash, research that increases agency, exposure that does not create dependency, discernment that asks what happens after the revelation. Because revelation is not the end. Revelation is the beginning of the test. The serpent offers knowledge. The beast offers awakening. The handler offers truth. The algorithm offers forbidden clips. The movement offers belonging. The savior offers meaning. The system offers a solution. And you ask, what is this trying to make me become? That is the question. Not just, is it true? But what is this truth doing? Where is it taking me? What is it training me to accept? What is it training me to hate? What is it training me to wait for? What is it training me to build? Who is being protected? Who is being omitted? Who is being elevated? Who or what is being sold as necessary? What evil am I being asked to excuse? Because a greater evil was shown first. If you cannot ask those questions, you are not awake. You are consuming. A spectator with classified content, a rabbit hole tourist, a trauma pilgrim, a man still chewing the serpent's fruit while bragging about his eyesight. Stop worshiping whatever opens your eyes. The exit begins when your attention stops being available for ritual harvest. When you pause before reacting, when you ask what emotion is being triggered, when you ask what solution is being sold, when you ask who benefits from your rage, who benefits from your despair, who benefits from your hope, who benefits from your hatred being pointed here and not there, who benefits from your outrage becoming demand for the exact system they wanted to build anyway. That is how you become harder to program, not numb, disciplined. You do not stop caring. You stop being piloted. You do not deny evil. You deny evil the right to steer you. You do not abandon children. You refuse to let their suffering be used to sell you the architecture of control. You do not mock victims. You mock the handlers who use victims as paint. You do not exit reality. You exit the ritual. And this is where happiness matters. Yes, happiness. The word that makes doom addicts itch like vampires in a tanning salon. Because the beast wants happiness to feel like hopium. It wants joy to feel like betrayal. It wants peace to feel like ignorance. It wants laughter to feel like sleep. No, happiness is not hopium. Hopium says, someone is coming. Happiness says, I am still here. Hopium says, wait for the plan. Happiness says, touch the ground. I am the plan. Hopium says, the savior will open the door. Happiness says, open the door. Hopium is a pipe. Happiness is proof. Proof that you are still alive. Proof that beauty still exists. Proof that your nervous system has not been fully colonized. Proof that the beast did not eat the whole sky. The machine wants the tree to become content, the sky to become background, the friend to become profile, the child to become data, the body to become device, the soul to become user. It wants every living thing translated into something trackable, clickable, sortable, sellable, searchable, programmable, and correctable by the priesthood. Happiness interrupts that translation. Beauty interrupts it. Love interrupts it. The body interrupts it. The unmediated world interrupts it. That is why going outside is not a meme. It is war medicine. Open the door. Outside is still there. The sky did not ask the algorithm for permission. The trees are not waiting for verification. The sea does not need a trust layer. The sun does not care about your follower count. Bread with friends is not a psyop. Laughter is not compliance. A child running in the sun is not hopium. It is a declaration that the beast failed to own the whole field. So do not use happiness to hide from evil. And do not use evil to hide from happiness. Both are escapes. Both are drugs. Both can make you useless. Stand in the harder place. See the evil. Refuse the spell. Love what is still alive. Defend what is still beautiful. Keep in touch with what's worth fighting for. Your humanity. If you lose that, you've lost the fight before it even started. Build a life the beast cannot fully mediate. The red pill was not the exit. The exit begins when you stop letting the ritual own your attention and reaction. No heroes, no halos. End hopium.